Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and today we are at Zion Lutheran Church in Moselem Springs, Pennsylvania. With me is Phil Cooper. He is an expert here on Tannenberg organs, and what we have with us here is a 1770 David Tannenberg organ. Now, this is the second building this church has had. This organ was originally installed in their first church.
That's correct. They had a stone building from 1762, which they kept all the way till 1894 when they tore it down. Used the stones for the foundation of this building built in 1894.
Okay, and then they moved the organ over. And now the organ was restored in 2011?
It's had quite a checkered history, actually. It was severely rebuilt by Samuel Bowler when they moved it into this building. And Bowler actually removed 3 ranks of pipes. He removed the pipes for the mixture and the tariff stops, and he changed the action. He built a protruding key desk with stops along the top, and added on 3 notes at the top when he just did some trickery with the roller board, and it made the action very clumsy. And when he was done with his rebuilding, actually, the only thing that remained from Tannenberg was the case, 6 ranks of pipes, and the chest, and that's all. So we have a very severely rebuilt organ, and then it was worked on in 1974, and that time organ restoration in this country was in its infancy, and everything that was done then was really not correct. And it didn't return the organ to its original condition at all. Had been subsequently painted brown and then painted white, which you can see this is the only surviving Tannenberg organ with a walnut case. The old photograph in the old church clearly shows it unpainted. So when we worked to make a plan for restoration, we decided that we would go all the way back to 1770 and restore it back to the way it was. There was some guesswork involved, especially with regards to the key action. But we, I think, did a really magnificent job. I think it's really very good restoration.
Yeah.
And it seems like we have like a rebirth almost.
Yeah, and I should say there's only a few Tannenberg organs still playing.
There are 9 surviving.
So you don't have a lot of examples to go back and even look and see.
There's only one that's really like this one in a way, and that's the one in Madison. Same 8 stops. The terex is a little different. It breaks back to 3 1/5 at middle C. But it's a much later organ, and its sound is different. This has an older sound. You get a feeling like there's just a few more toes, if you will, in Germany than the later Tannenberg.
Well, Tannenberg was a German immigrant who came to America, and we don't know if he learned organ building here or there, but he was building organs in the Moravian church originally.
Right. He learned from Johann Gottfried Walther, who had been Moravian and emigrated to Pennsylvania very early. Built organs by himself for a time, including some organs we know from some Lutheran churches. We don't think those organs were very big. We don't really know anything about them that much because none of them have survived. No information has survived. So the big question is, what did Tannenberg learn from Clem? How did he learn to do all the things that he did? It's very conceivable that Tannenberg learned everything he needed to know to build an organ this size from Clem, but he built organs much larger with reed stops and so forth. Where did he learn all this is something we may never find out.
What's the biggest Tannenberg organ we know about?
The biggest one was the largest he built was for Zion Lutheran Church in Philadelphia. It was 3 manuals, had 16-foot principal in the facade. It had 16-foot Posaune and bass in the pedal and trumpet and vox humana and oboe, and it was the largest organ built in the colonies at that time.
Wow. But most of the instruments that survive are about this size, or smaller.
Correct. Old Salem is a 2-manual organ, and it's still a very modest size. The second manual only has 4 stops. York is bigger, and it has pedal. The organ that he built immediately after this one in 1771 was for Trinity Lutheran Church in Reading. And that had 12 stops. It had 4 8-foots. It had a principal, a gnact, it had a viola da gamba, and a flauto traverso, apparently an overblowing stop, and a pedal of 2 stops, 16-foot subbass and 8-foot octave bass. What's interesting is that when I'm here, I can play a lot of music on this organ. very much of the Central German repertoire fits beautifully. And if I can do that here, even more so on an organ like that one, which unfortunately didn't survive. So.
Well, I can talk about David Tannenberg all day because he's a fascinating character. And if you want to learn more, there's a book published by the OHS Press called That Ingenious Business.
By Ray Brunner.
By Ray Brunner, who was in charge of the restoration of this organ. And so I suggest you go find that. But now I want to hear some more of this organ. So tell me about the stops we have, and let's hear a little bit of it.
We have 8-foot principal. This is full-scale principal. Many of the pipes in the front.
But it's not a big sound at all. It's just perfect for this room.
Very beautiful.
And even for a principal, on a lot of these, especially 19th century organs we've been looking at, the principal really punches you in the face, whereas the rest of the organ might be subtle. But this one is out here, but it's not huge. And
one of the interesting things about what Tannenberg did was that the scaling for this is identical for the 4-foot, the quinta 3, and what he called the sub-octave, the super octave 2. The terts and the mixture, all those ranks are the same scale.
So with the thing we would do today is the scales get smaller as the principal.
And that's a later characteristic.
So this creates a unique sound for that period in that time. Well, let's hear the 4-foot first by itself.
4-foot is just magical, just wonderful. Larger scale gives it a flutier sound. It's not quite as bright, but it's still lovely and very sweet. It's a very beautiful sound.
So how does that sound with the 8-foot together? The next stop up is our
3-foot quinta.
3-foot. Of course, 3-foot is an ancient way of expressing a 2 2/3, since it was close enough. They didn't quite have the math down perfectly, but that's the quint that plays a 12th above the unison. So then we go to a 2-foot. Chorus gets bigger, but it doesn't really get brighter. It's just a little more, it's clearer, is what I would say. It doesn't feel like a modern organ when you add another stop and suddenly you have another octave sing. It just makes the chorus a little bigger and broader. So the next thing we have is a mixture, how many ranks is in that mixture?
2 ranks.
Okay, and where does it start in the compass?
It starts low C.
So it's
1 1/3 and 1.
Okay, so it's just the next level up from our chorus. And then does it break as it goes up?
It goes all the way to middle C, where it breaks back an octave in half to 4-foot and 3-foot.
4-foot. It's a big drop down.
Yes.
But it works with the rest of the ensemble.
It does. It's amazing.
Let's hear the whole thing together then. 8, 4, 2 in the mixture, and the 3-foot. It's not super bright or shrill in the treble because it breaks back so much farther, and you just get more of that upper clarity without a lot of screaming brightness. So it's a very nice sound. All right, what else do we go from there? We have
well, then we would add the terts.
Okay, terts.
Which is just another principal stop.
Okay. that tear sticking out in there like it does on,
Right.
and it's just, it blends with the ensemble, so that's fantastic
Yeah.
how he puts those together. And then we still have 2 more stops.
Yes, and we can go back to the plenum sound in a minute because you can add the flauts 8 foot to the plenum, give it a bigger sound. In this organ, both flutes are open wood,
Okay.
and pine and the smaller pipes are walnut.
Oh, interesting. It's lovely. It's very warm. For an open flute, it's still, it's a little muted, but it's very colorful and very nice. So how does the 4-foot sound in comparison?
This is also one of those magical stops, just very beautiful.
I hear a lot more harmonic color in the 4-foot. So I imagine when you put it with the 8-foot, that's just a big, beautiful. So now, how does that? Let's hear the plenum, the principal chorus without the flute.
Right, so you can have just the principal plenum with no flute.
And have the 8-foot flute. Foundation in there with just that one little soft flute in there, just because everything's scaled to blend together so perfectly.
Yeah.
Does the 4-foot contribute anything to the plenum, or is that too?
It tends to start to muddy it just a little bit, the clarity of the texture,
So.
which is very typical Central German organ.
So this has a hand pump on it, even though it has a blower and a hand pump.
Correct.
There was a blower that was added at some point.
Right. The blower was added as a part of the restoration. It's very small, quiet. It inflates one of the bellows.
Okay, but there are 2 bellows and 2 pumps for them that were actually rebuilt as part of the rebuild, correct?
Yes, Bowler removed Tannenberg's winding system completely and added his own single rise.
Okay.
So I persuaded the church to go the extra mile and spend more money to recreate Tannenberg's winding.
All right,
So,
let's try it out. Let's see. So as part of the rebuild, there were only 6 pipes that were original to the 1770 Tannenberg. 6 ranks of pipes. So you had to have 3 of them refashioned. And
Correct.
Ray Brunner was responsible for that, correct?
Yes, I was the advisor for this restoration, and so I suggested that they contact Paul Fritz because he had just finished reconstruction of Philip Bachmann organ. Philip Bachmann was Tannenberg's son-in-law and successor, and so they had just done all that work reconstructing this Bachmann organ, and so I thought this was a perfect opportunity for them to fashion pipes copying these. These Tannenberg pipes are a little different than the newer Tannenberg pipes. They're a little more crude, but the face of the metal pipes is a little different. So we wanted to make sure that what we did was exact replica of what was here originally. And so I think they did a beautiful job of that. It's hard to tell what ranks are new and what ranks are old.
Going back to the Tannenberg history, did Tannenberg build all of his own pipes?
He did. Okay. We know that because he mentioned in at least one letter, if not more than one time, that he alone insisted on making his own pipes.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for showing us this lovely 1770 Tannenberg organ here at Zion Lutheran in Moselem Springs, Pennsylvania. You have a webpage that has lots of information about Tannenberg.
I do.
What's that address?
DavidTannenberg.com.
And we'll put that down in the description if you want to learn more. And of course, Ray Brunner's book about David Tannenberg is called That Ingenious Business. We'll link to a place where you can buy that online as well. And do you have any projects coming up with this instrument or others?
I've been working to produce a series of 6 compact disc recordings featuring old Pennsylvania German organs, Tannenberg organs, and those organs that were built by followers of Tannenberg style, Jacob and Christian Diefenbach, the Krauss brothers, John and Andrew, and all of those, Conrad Dahl. There's an organ by Conrad Dahl in Peace Church in Mechanicsburg. So I have 2 CDs out. They're available from the Organ Historical Society, old Pennsylvania German organs. And I would like to find funding, if I can, to do the rest of it. Volume 4 would be on the 2 organs in Old Salem. Okay. And Volume 5 would then feature this one.
Well, we'll put links to the albums that you do have out down in the description. And remember, for streaming classical organ music 24 hours a day, visit our 3 stations, organlive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notifications when new videos come out. And if you like this one, please click the thumbs up button. I'm Brent Johnson, and I'll talk to you again next time.